Well, here we are at AUVSI in Denver, having a chance to visit with some of our former friends, current friends, but formerly on Zeocast. And I'm so happy to have Divakaran with us again. So glad to have you back to Zeocast.
Happy to be back again.
Absolutely. Well, you've been really busy since we talked to you last in Atlanta, which was 2 years ago, over there on the AFWERX side of things, and now you're doing Airspace innovations. What is that, and what's the focus and the objective?
Absolutely. So yeah, in 2 years, lots has changed. I'm still part of AFWERX, and within AFWERX, I'm part of Prime, which is the innovation arm of the Air Force, and one of our key programs is Agility Prime, which is the eVTOL program, and also called as AM. So in the last 2 years, we have been working on efforts where we help these companies through their airworthiness and certification so that they can fly, so they get their military airworthiness and certification so that they can fly in military airspace. Now, military airspace is a safer space to work and test their aircrafts compared to civil airspace because of restrictions, waivers, and processes. But also from a standpoint that these companies eventually have to focus on the commercial certification. So we are giving them early insight into how certification process is from a military standpoint, a lot of which is similar to how FAA does their certification. And we help them through in-kind testing. We give them opportunities to get access to our airspace, our facilities, our SMEs. We work on the certification process where they are doing wind tunnel testing, aircraft controls, cybersecurity, all the pieces, and the layers for the certification process. So as these aircrafts get certified, what do we do next? How do we integrate into the airspace? And that is where my efforts as a lead of the airspace innovation and partnerships comes into effect. Is these aircrafts, once they get certified, have to operate in the NAS or in the military airspace. End of the day, the airspace, and all the airspace are managed by FAA. We have military airspace, which is in partnership with FAA. So if we can solve a problem in the military airspace that can be effective and helpful in the civil airspace, that's something we're looking at, as well as if we can solve the problem through our partnership with FAA, with NASA, with industry stakeholders, even agencies like FCC, DHS, if we can partner with them, find a common area where the aircrafts move from testing efforts to the NAS efforts. So between that testing efforts and integration into the national airspace, what can we do to solve that problem? So that's where the airspace innovation, we're not airspace integration team, but we are airspace innovation team. And how we would simply define it, we are the connecting tissue between all the integrators, policymakers, industry with the technology side, and the research side to find technologies that are at high TRL levels and give them the opportunity to prove their technology in the proving grounds. So that's why we're looking at creating a proving ground, a validation ground. This is between the, as I mentioned, between the test side and NAS integration. And through our partnership with FAA, we can help solve some of the roadblocks that they have. And we can also at the same time see benefits on the DoD side for these future technologies. End of the day, these are commercial companies, startup companies. They want to ensure they have commercial viability, and our focus is dual use technology. That is, these companies first get successful in the commercial front, and then we'll identify military use cases on the DoD side. So eVTOLs, and then we still have efforts on SUS that we can use as surrogate aircrafts for this. So all these things comes into effect that end of the day, the common factor here is the airspace. They have to fly with traditional aircrafts, they have to fly with fighter jets in the military airspace. How do we ensure that there is situational awareness, there's detect and avoid capability, and how we can all fly safely?
Wow, that's a lot. So how do companies get engaged in this program?
So there's different pipelines. One is if you are a company that is low TRL level, or basically you have an idea and you feel this idea can help the Air Force, you have our SBIR program, SBIR program, and that's through AFWERX Ventures. So AFWERX Ventures is the capital arm of the Air Force, and what we do is we invest in startup technologies from ideas. For basically ideas, we give about $75K which is basically a PowerPoint presentation on how these technology can help us in the future. A phase 2 is where they get 1.25 million, and this is where they build a prototype. And then it starts increasing, the pot of money starts increasing. This is where they can bring in external partnerships. It could be government, it could be private sector, it could be investors to match the funding. So that's one route. But if you're a company that's high TRL level, if you're a company and a TRL level 7, 8 and above, or if you're a company that actually has an aircraft that's fully operational or a technology that's fully operational, that is where Prime comes into effect. AFWERX Prime is looking for technologies that are ready today to operationalize it and work with these companies to solve their commercial challenges. What is that challenge? So eVTOLs is one of our primary programs, Agility Prime. So if you're an eVTOL company, we would love to see if you have an aircraft that you've actually flown, and that's why we have a list of companies. Some of them is very popular in the like Joby, Beta,
right,
and they're doing amazing through the partnership. But we also understand that with these eVTOLs comes other technologies. We have emerging technologies like in the autonomy side, in the AI side, you talk about airspace side. So these technology companies can also work with us through these Prime efforts, because one is to certify these aircraft, second is to operationalize this aircraft. What is needed to operationalize this aircraft?
Right.
So this is where companies that are working in the AM space have opportunity to work with us. And now we are also launching the Autonomy Prime, which is the autonomy proving grounds. So this is where, and again, this is not focused only on autonomy on the air side of things, but autonomy as a whole. How do we scale? Yeah, how do we scale autonomy, and how do we help the companies that are having high TRL levels to move that autonomy needle forward? And end of the day, also, when these companies work with us, or they work with NASA, or they work with FAA, or if they work with state and local, we want to ensure that there is a common link here, that we can all work together. So this is where that connecting tissue comes. Is you need an organization, or you need a program that can just bridge all the efforts that is there and put that whole energy towards one direction.
Let me ask you this. So is this also UAS, smaller UAS, or is this purely just larger eVTOLs and larger aircraft?
Good question. And this is where a lot of folks keep asking this question, like, and this is specifically on SUS side. So think about it like this. eVTOLs, are they ready to do everything on the testing side, on the operational side? No.
Yeah.
There's limitations. But you can use surrogate aircrafts. So you have SUS, you have helicopters that can be used as surrogate aircrafts for testing access to airspace, airspace management testing, even security testing, even to the point BVLS operations. These aircrafts act as surrogate aircrafts. Now, are we focused on SUS? Yes, from a testing perspective, from a operationalizing perspective, yes. But that comes back to the point is that our effort is focused on AM, which is for us, the industry has many definitions of AM. Our efforts are basically ground to 12,000 feet.
Okay.
So anything that's operating from ground to 12,000 feet is of interest to us. So it's SUS, sensors, as well as eVTOLs, and everything else that has to be put into effort. So weather sensors, your detect and avoid technology,
Okay.
all these things are important.
So when is the next period? When does that open?
So the next switch, what is it specific?
Yeah, the next period for application?
So that Prime side of things, there's no application process or anything like that. It's basically, you have to reach out to us. You reach out to the Prime program, depending on where you want to focus. Is it Agility Prime, Autonomy Prime, Airspace efforts? We will have a one-on-one discussions to understand where this fits into the big picture here. And again, this is for companies and technologies that are high TRL level. But if you are looking at the CIBR program, where startups and all, we have on our website a cycle. Every year, there's a cycle for the phase 1s, phase 2s, and it's easily accessible via website, but also we have wealth of information. If you're a startup that just doesn't know how to work with the DoD, we have information right there. So we get companies who have been working on the commercial side for quite long, but they are now trying to get their feet wet into DoD. They just don't know. Air Force has made that simpler. While as other, like Navy, Army, all have CIBR programs, but what we have heard from the industry is that the RCIBR process has been much easier to understand, and the process been faster. So depending on which side you are, AFWERX.com is the page you have to visit, and we have email addresses there, and if you direct it to specific focus, the POCs on that side will be reached out and will be able to help you out.
Wow, I mean, this is so comprehensive, and right, everything that you've mentioned in terms of aircraft, sensors, cyber, everything. I mean, these are all the things that we're all weather that we're all dealing with and we're all trying to solve. So thank you for giving us an update. Lots has happened over the last 2 years, and I mean, what a great way to really provide a foundation for all this innovation.
A lot of great efforts going on, and we just want to complement it.
Yeah.
We don't want to create silos. We want to make sure all the efforts are focused towards the future of AM, making US a leader in AM and related technologies. Again, we should never forget that autonomy and all are big spaces, and we want to, if US wants to be a leader, we all have to work together. And that's the great thing is agencies have started realizing this, companies have started realizing this, and we are just happy that we can bring everyone together. End of the day, we are not the policymakers. Even from a DoD perspective, we have the PBFA, that's the Policy Board for Federal Administration. They are the policymakers. What we are trying to do is feed the right information so that the policymakers on the FAA side, the PBFA side can come together and help the innovation space in the future.
Right. Now, do you see other units besides like Air Force doing this, kind of looking at your model and wanting to duplicate that?
Yes, so the AFWERX model has been, with the Ventures program, has been replicated on the Navy side with NavalX similarly. So eventually we see that this effort could be duplicated to make it much more simpler. So the fact is here is the startup companies and the innovators already have a large, a challenge ahead of them. Why complicate it further by putting them into processes? So if we can overcome those challenges from a process standpoint, simplify it, but at the same time, help them go in the right direction, bringing in investment, bringing in SMEs to help them, and also ensuring that they are commercially viable. Because that's the thing, end of the day, we want to make sure our US companies can stay in US, can succeed in US. So this is a big mission here. It's not just Air Force coming in, it's agencies coming in. We just are continuing the good work which other agencies and organizations have done. We just feel like we don't want to start from scratch, rather we want to bring in everyone else and find out where the challenges are and solve those challenges. So this is where our big mission here is to make sure that American innovation succeeds and our startup companies get that opportunity. And for that, it cannot be just the Air Force, Army, or Navy working. It's going to be Department of Defense, it's going to be the FAA, it's going to be DHS, it's going to be FCC, it's going to be all these agencies coming together, because this technology can scale in so many directions. Use cases, hundreds of use cases. So, but at the same time, we can't spend energy on all 100 use cases at the same point. It has to scale over time, and that's why we also have identified the success point on our sites. What are the use cases that we can win on from a technology standpoint? And end of the day, that's where working together is the key, and that's why the partnerships is also under my wing, and my job and my team work effort is bringing these agencies together and listening. It's very important at this time to listen rather than give direction. So we are listening, we are understanding, and then we are finding a solution, and then we are bringing the solution to everyone.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for coming back and giving us an update.
I appreciate the invitation.
I'm looking to see what's going to be, the update next year or 2 years from now. No telling what we're going to see.
Absolutely.
Because it'll be good to hear some of these companies that have actually come out of the program and the success that they're having. So thank you so much, Dash. Good to have you back with us.
Thank you.
All right. We'll be back in a minute.